Okay, I think I'm live. Right. So, I decided to make my own YouTube channel, even though I'm not tech savvy and not big on being the face of a YouTube channel. But I see sometimes there are legal answers given, and everybody has the right to give their opinion. Legal opinions vary so much because different attorneys have different opinions on things, because the law is not black and white. It's all built on case law and opinions, and one word can be defined so differently. The law may say large trucks cannot go over certain streets, and one case may say a large truck is one over 50 tons, and one case may say a large truck is one with 15 wheels or 17 wheels or 18 wheels or whatever. So there's different ways to define large. So attorneys use these variances in how they approach the law and how they do things on the law, and how they interpret things and give legal advice or give legal analogy or explain legal theory. And I feel like sometimes people try to boil it down too much because they're trying to give a quick explanation, but they're kind of doing an injustice because they're not showing people how broad it can be, and they're not showing people how vast the law can truly be. And it's a little bit of a injustice, I think, to the people who are relying on some of those statements. I'm part of the MMTLP community. I've been invested since Torch. I really feel like the support I get from you guys is just so like unprecedented for me, and I really feel like it's so special to my heart. And so I feel like I owe you guys a duty of trying to make sure that you're getting full answers on certain things. So I think the best way for me to do that without inconveniencing somebody else, I love being on Houston's show. He's great. He's great at moderating and asking good questions, and having a good conversation back and forth. But to own my own explanations, I think, is important to me, and to also be able to own the time, just because if I ever need to schedule or whatever, he's always been so gracious. He always works with my schedule, but then I feel a little bit obligated to his schedule, or to, not canceling if I need to. I feel really guilty about it. But when it's my own thing, I can just kind of move at my leisure. So I do love Houston and being on his show, and I still intend to be on his show sometimes. But I just felt like I would really love to give you guys good answers on things that you have really important questions. And I feel like on Twitter, it's hard to do that. And I'd like to have the opportunity to give good answers in a way that can be understood. So I thought seeing live chats was the way to do it. Wow, I just feel like that was the longest intro. Okay, I see what you guys are saying now. I really love it. Drew Diligence, is that you, Andrew? Thank you. Andrew put me on Spaces. Oh, that's so nice. Well, I'm glad. That means I can interact. If anybody's asking questions, I guess, on Twitter Spaces, you can go ahead and put it up in here. That way I can kind of answer. Again, thank you guys for your support throughout the whole case. The MMTLP case has really been, it's mentally taxing, because when I have deadlines and I have to do the legal research, and there's a lot to it. But there's times when I really start to feel like overwhelmed with, my clients' cases, but this is something of my own. And then just thinking about all the people who were so disadvantaged by what happened, and they did their research on what they were investing in, and the research wasn't bad. So when people like to discredit the investors of Torch and MMTLP, what they say is, oh, you guys are investing in a meme stock, or this is a whatever investment, like that you guys didn't do your due diligence. But people did their due diligence on this case, and that is why the halt was implemented, is because people did their due diligence. People knew what was going on. People had woken up and realized that this was a position, or this was a situation where this stock was shorted and it was going to go private, and it had to cover, number one. Number two, it is an oil and gas asset. So it's a hard asset, not a business based on ventures and the economy in that manner. It's a gas asset. It's very stable investment. So regardless, it does have its stability, but the fact that people discredit the investors a lot, saying that they weren't knowledgeable or they didn't have, the right due diligence, but that's just incorrect. That's just wrong. And it's because of the due diligence and because of the knowledge that people had really spent their time digging and investigating in what was going on that they decided to invest, and then they were still disadvantaged in the end. And I think, just knowing that and just really thinking about all the people who have reached out to me on Twitter and all the people who have, been on stock twits. That's how I first actually even heard about all of this, was through stock twits. And just knowing that all these, how real people have been affected and their lives have really been touched. I've gotten to know all of you, and it really does, when there's times when I'm so overwhelmed and I'm it's 11:30 p.m. and I'm sitting in my office, feeling frustrated. And I just think about, I'll go and open my Twitter and just think, these are real people with kids and families, and this was their investment, that they really did their due diligence. They invested in this because they thought, hey, I'm going to come out on top, and this is going to really help me get the car that I need, help me do the things I need, and, push me over the edge on what I need financially, or push me over the edge on where I want to take, my life, my investments, my financial stability. And people kind of put themselves out on a limb because they said, this is a good investment. My risk benefit analysis is really sound on this. And then to be disadvantaged after that is just, and to be disadvantaged at the hands of the people whose duty it is to protect your investments is just, it's just foul. Honestly, it really is. So, that's kind of what keeps me pushing. And that's why I knew that I had a limited time to decide if I was going to appeal or not. And, many people have said what they've said about the 11th Circuit not being the most advantageous, because the 11th Circuit is a conservative circuit, in my opinion. I don't think that that's necessarily against investors. Historically, conservative judges in conservative circuits will, people think that they'll benefit the government, but that's not necessarily true. They're skeptical often of the government, but they support businesses, and they support small business owners, and they support private companies having their rights to, number one, their contractual rights. They will not discredit the legal rights or contractual rights of a party. When they are due, they are due. And number two, they're conservative in the manner that they understand that investments, businesses, and retail investors in the stock market are really important. And also, yes, they might be wary of ruling against the government, but we have to remember that Finra is a self-regulatory organization. They are a private organization. They invest in the stock market. So their investments in the stock market take them kind of out of the scope to somebody who's really mindful of what's going on. When you're mindful of what's going on, I explained this case to my cousin today. I went to go and visit my cousin. She moved to Florida, so I have somebody here. And I was explaining, and they were saying, so you're suing the government? I said, no, I'm suing somebody that was appointed by the government, right? The government appoints Finra. But Finra invests in the stock market. They make money. They are the referee. It's the best explanation I have is they're the referee betting on the game. So they're 11th Circuit, who's sitting up high, can look and say, this Finra, this governmental agency, but they're not a full governmental agency. They're there's a word for it. It's slipping my mind right now. But they're a self-regulatory organization that's been appointed or given certain powers and certain agency from the government to carry out X, Y, and Z tasks. When they're carrying those out in a manner that goes against the very mission of their creation, they're doing more harm than good. Shall we, use our judicial power as a check and balance on them? These agencies are appointed by the legislative branch. right? They're appointed by Congress. That's a legislative branch. So what is the best way to combat the legislative branch? By voting. You vote people in and out of that branch, and that's one of the best ways to regulate the legislative branch. What is the second best way? It's by using the judicial branch. So when the first way has failed us because Congress members don't understand what's even going on, they gave an intelligible instruction to an agency. Follow out this mission. Carry it out. We're giving you the keys to the car, and you need to go to this location, right? And now this agency is taking detours. They've gone to the beach. They're doing whatever. They're benefiting from this car, which was given to them by Congress. But Congress is not having direct daily oversight of this agency they created. Congress gave them the power, gave them the agency, and we voted in Congress and gave them the power, right? So they say, well, you got to vote them in and out, and you got to use your voting power to make change of the legislative branch. But when your voting power to the legislative branch does not translate to daily or regular oversight and interference, and it's not a day-to-day review of what they're actually doing with this agency, what they're actually carrying out, it's so limited that half of the members of Congress don't even know what's going on. And when we explain it to them, they almost can't wrap their minds around it. And it's my belief that they cannot wrap their minds around it. They just don't. So when that becomes the point, is it really the legislative branch that is the issue? They're not doing anything about it now. We understand that because how many people here have reached out to their Congress people? How many people here have reached out to, they've reached out to Congress, they've reached out to people from other state Congresses, they've reached out to their governors. People have been reaching out to all these members of the elected branches, and they don't even know what's going on. And they're not hearing the call of the voters, of their constituents. They're not doing anything about it. They're saying they're going to investigate it, they're going to bring it up, but they're not wrapping their mind around it. They're not understanding it. So is voting the problem here, right? Is that the best method of removing this thing, this agency? Part of what it is this is a democratic government. Our job, these are public servants. They call elected officials public servants. It's their job to serve the public. They say that they used to, back in the time of the first Congressional Congress, right? They say they would call them, I'm your humble servant, would be how they would sign off a letter from Congress. Oh, your obedient servant, your humble servant, because they serve us. So we vote them in, we give them their power and their power to run things in the manner to which they were elected, in the manner of the platform they presented to us on their political platform. They present us, here's my objectives, and we vote them in or out. So when they're not, when it's not a direct oversight of the people you voted in, and they don't really wrap their minds around what's going on, your legislative option to make a change is not effective. There's a disconnect. Voting and Congress are not directly affecting Finra because they are not under daily Congress or a vote, like any kind of voted elected official, right? They're not under their daily oversight. None of them, right? So clearly, legislative change is not going to work. It must go through the judicial branch. We need judicial change. And I think when the 11th Circuit, which wields a lot of power, sees, they don't like to get involved in anything regarding the government. They don't like to make rulings on it. They don't like to set precedent. But when you approach it from this way, saying, we have used our legislative power to make change, but these people are not directly voted and they're not having oversight from our voted officials. So we need the judicial branch to interject and make the necessary changes. that is the best way to approach the 11th Circuit, because when your constituents and the citizens are being, and all the retail investors and all of the public are being railroaded with no direct ability to do anything. And yeah, I agree with the person who's saying defund. Congress's overlook of the market is because they receive donations. Lobbying is one of the biggest industries in this country. Lobbying is so huge. So the legislative branch is not going to assist us, and it has to go through the judicial. And I think that while they don't like to set precedent, if it's necessary, I think they will. And when they see that this is something that has just completely erupted the market, it's been 9 months and there hasn't been an overall response to anybody. Nobody has there is no official statement that went out and said, now everybody has their shares, so blah, 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 blah. No, because there's no continuity against any brokerages. There is no consistency. Everything is different. Everyone is different. Every broker has a different whatever they're supposed to say. Somebody leaked what they had to say within each other, right? What the corporate was telling their employees to say about it was just ignore people, basically, about their questions because they don't have an answer. 9 months it's not even just ridiculous. It's not even just foul. It's, this is people's investments are tied up, and they can't even reach out and say to NextBridge, I want to sell, I want to, trade my stock, I want to whatever. They don't even have that option because they don't even have access to their shares. It's just become so intertwined. You know what? No, it's become so apparent. It has become so obvious what is going on here. The light has been shined that it's dirty. Whatever's going on is not clean. There's so many issues with whatever is going on, and it's just become so apparent that somebody has to do something. And I think, in my opinion, it needs to come judicially. I understand, and I am all for any other kinds of solutions. Okay, Sasha, we move, please. I am all for other solutions. Sorry. But I'm more for any solution that, benefits the investors. But I think right now, in, looking at it and trying to decide, was I going to appeal? Because this will likely go to the Supreme Court. I don't know what will happen with the 11th Circuit, but whether it's for me or against me, I'm sure whether it's for me or against me, I'm sure it will be, appealed. Even if I'm not the one doing the appealing. Sorry, I can't see anything because my cat. Ushimi. So, I mean, I had to make that choice. I had to sit and analyze, this is my option, and am I going to take it? It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot. There's so many deadlines. There's so much to do. I had to really take stock of how busy my life is and then I remembered, sorry, Shimi. And then I remembered all the people, who have reached out to me and said, my parents invested and they're really sick. I invested this for my daughters, and my daughters are going to college, and, their college fund is not very high. We were planning to use this. And all the people who reached out to me and said, I'm really sick. And all the people who have told me that investors reached out to them and said, hey, I'm dying. Can you take care of what happens? It's something that really pushes and motivates me when I think about those things, where I decided that, yeah, I intend fully to appeal and just take it all the way up. I don't care. Somebody said, vote for Trump. I will look at everybody who is up. Shimi, get off. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, my cat. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Somebody said, vote for Trump, blah, blah. I look at all the platforms for everybody before I vote, and I look at what they're actually offering, because like I said, you have so much power in your vote based on your legislative power. I think it really matters. And somebody else said, why would you vote for someone who should be in long-term care? I believe that is literally all of our current candidates. I don't understand why we can't get somebody like their 50s or 60s, but I think 90s is the new normal. Sorry I joined so late, but you're saying going through Congress is not the right move. I think that going through Congress consistently is still a good move. I do think we should continue because, like I said, we have that power, the power over the legislation. Like, that is one way. These are the two ways, is through legislative checks and balances and judicial checks and balances. Those two methods are really the only ways to make a change through, number one, the agency that is under Congress, like Finra and the SEC, and number two, the judicial branch, which has power over Congress when they need to check and balance them. So consistent communications to Congress are so important because right now it's falling on all these Congress members who don't fully wrap their mind around what's going on and have such a limited understanding that they're not they're not being proactive because they're like, this goes over my head, or they're like, well, somebody who's more knowledgeable will guide them, or they're going to ask for somebody to do some investigations and give them some kind of report. That's how it goes. Their legal assistants or their legislative assistants create these little reports on all the things going on that their constituents ask them. Those legislative assistants, if they go and see that this is a meme stock, or if they go and see that these people are not knowledgeable, blah, 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 bad due diligence, whatever, that automatically discredits it to that congressman. Number two, if the congressman is asking for these legislative reports and the legislative assistants don't really understand, then now you've missed another ear. But when you consistently pound on Congress's door, you will find somebody that will understand. You will find somebody that will be watching these videos and take their time and actually go into it and say, hey, people keep calling and they're not stopping. We need to find out what they're actually talking about. We need to, yeah, Jack, I do. I can't help it. I always I talk with my hands, so my dad says. My dad does too, though. We need to we need to continue to knock on Congress's door, because when you do that, eventually the person who's going to answer the call, the person that's going to finally take their time to do the full research, to look into what's going on, to read the documents, the links. There's so many links out there compiling all the evidence. There's so many things out there, all my filings, all of Richard's filings, all of Alan's filings, all these things. And somebody's going to say, wait a second, this does not smell right. Something's going on here. We need to actually do something. And that gets to one congressperson, one report. And now we get another one, maybe a month or two later. And that's how you build it, where you start to build from outside. So we need to be consistent, I think. So sorry, Fred. I know that I'm a little bit of a skeptic and I'm a little bit pessimistic sometimes. But I think that Congress is important. But I think that for myself, I know that I have the most. When you're approaching Congress, you're consistently calling and messaging and knocking on their door, and it takes longer build up to get an answer. And it's about the right person answering the call, right? You're calling on them to do something. The right person needs to answer that call. With the judicial branch, you need to get in front of the right judge, and you need to have the right law, and you really need to do the research and all that. But that's something I can do. That's in my toolbox. And I know that these are the two avenues, and we need to be pursuing them both. And so I took it upon myself that I said, you know what, I am going to continue with the appeal. And if I have to appeal again, I'll do it to the Supreme Court. And if I have to get appealed to the Supreme Court, I will show, because we can't do anything without the data. The judge already said that. He said he will, dismiss my claims for a monopoly, right, for a Sherman Act violation, because I didn't have the data to back up who they were acting in concert with. And I didn't have the data to show what they actually did. And I said, we need the data. That's why. They said, okay, you have to sue for that. Well, now we're suing for that. And once we get it, it opens up a whole new world of opportunity when we have the data. It shines a light on the whole thing. Congress themselves can analyze the data and see what's going on. And it's just, when you have Congress doing it, they're not all financial scholars, right? And when you have somebody doing it, they really need to know the full depth of what happened from Torchlight to MMTLP to Next Bridge Hydrocarbons, right? it's such a long-winded path that you need somebody with the attention span and the bandwidth to say, I can encompass all of this in my understanding without having a financial interest in it. All of us have been able to figure it out, do the math. We're all like sitting here like, like calculus experts because we have a financial interest in it. There's something pulling us in. And I feel like we need to pull the same thing on Congress, right? We need to pull them in to make them have an interest. And the only way to do that is to stay loud and to stay on it. And we need judicial pressure to say, hey, they're not getting any changes to the legislative branch because there's no daily oversight of this self-regulating organization, an organization that regulates the market in which they invest. They are a regulator, somebody that ensures justice and fairness in a market that they're making billions off every year. I mean, it's incredible, honestly, that they don't have daily oversight. And the SEC themselves are also not elected. They are appointed. Jamie. They are appointed. So that also is not something that you can directly regulate or interfere with as a constituent. Your legislative power is to vote people in and out. They say when you're not happy with policy, you need to use the voting poll. That's your way to make your change. But when these agents are, again, they're not voted in and out. The ones who are even regulating Finra, that's the SEC. They are not even voted. They are appointed by the people you vote for. It is so far disconnected. It is so far removed from the power of the people who have invested all their money, all of their retirement. If you have a pension, I want you to put it in the chat right now. Nobody has a pension anymore. How many of you have a 401k though? Or were offered a 401k, which takes a percentage of your payroll. So your monthly salary would be reduced slightly for what? It's going to be reduced for a 401k, which is in a failing market. And why is it failing? Okay, Fred Jones, I want to know where you got your pension. And I want a job there. My dad has a pension, but even that is a shock because his friends do not. People's retirement funds, people's entire... Oh, well, that's different, Fred. I'd like to work for the government because the benefits are great. But when your income is being slightly reduced, it's not a significant reduction for a 401k. They take a couple $100 a month or whatever and put it into your pension. Or sorry, they put it into your 401k. It creates, they're putting it into your 401k for your expectancy to retire, right? When you can no longer retire, when you have the entire working class being ages 18 to 70, 75, 80, you have a failing economy. It's failing. So we need to look at the source of the failure, and that is people's retirement plans, which are going through the 401ks, which are not producing. Why are they not producing? Who are the people in charge of them? Who are the people in charge of regulating how they're being, charged? Why are there so many fees associated? That's a whole nother tangent. But B, when people are making smart investments and doing their due diligence and they're getting locked into things that demonstrate that there is some shadiness and there are issues that were not addressed by the regulators, but rather were swept under the rug, that is where we stand. You can go ahead and clip me on that and make your own little videos. Okay. Sorry. I worked as a litigation paralegal 15 years. Fred Joan, in the U.S. military, you were a litigation paralegal? Were you in the U.S. government? Were you a JAG paralegal? I wanted to be a JAG attorney. I really did. I was going to be a JAG, but I decided to do this instead. I will never be allowed to be a JAG probably now because I'm suing them. Thoughts on other cases and actions or info from attorneys? So, Jonna, I think that other attorneys are trying to give you guys information, and think that's great. I don't mind. Well, I don't have the right to mind what other people do, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I think that people are trying to summarize it in tweets and get retweets or whatever the purpose is of like these short things, when it is so much more complicated than people are letting on, and they're trying to simplify it. Maybe it makes them feel like, they're more confident in their explanations of the law or whatever, but it is so much more than that. And I think that it's a discredit to, not take the time to explain things with a little bit more depth, because they, people make decisions based on the things they hear. People make decisions based on what they're told. And I think that when you know that people are considering what you have to say very seriously, there is a responsibility with it. And I think that all the attorneys have been fine and have done a great job, but I just see that people are trying to summarize things in like a short little thing so it can be retweeted or saved or whatever. And I think that it's so much more than that. And I think that an eloquent response is due. And so that's why some of the things I saw, like the statute of limitations thing, I really wanted to address, because statute of limitations always varies. Number one, it varies on your claim. A contract claim has a different statute of limitations than a car accident claim. They're just very different. They're two different fields of law. One is contract law, one is torts. They're just different. Number two, when you're looking at something like securities, now you have to say, are we under securities fraud? Are we under business securities? Are we under securities contracts? Shimi, can you stop? So you have to look now, where are we? They all have their own time frames. Now, here's the kicker. Everything, except for certain estates, once you distribute an estate, you can never unwind it. So that won't toll the statute of limitations. So, like, let's say you find a will after, let's say, God forbid, your grandma dies. Your grandma died, you go through probate, they say we can't find her will, so we give everything. The judge puts in the final order, the deeds have been issued, the property is gone, whatever. After that, let's say that you find the will and you're like, wait, my grandma left everything to me. Why did my brother get a share? It's too late. So the statute of limitations will toll in almost every case based on lack of ability to get information, fraudulent concealing of that information, or if it hasn't become apparent with good due diligence. If you're doing a good job of looking out for the information, but it's so unnaturally, it's so naturally unapparent that there's no way you would have come across it with good, prudent behavior or good due diligence. They say prudent behavior, it's a term of art. It's like a legal term. But if you wouldn't have come across the information, it will stop the statute of limitations until you would have reasonably come across that information. So, and that only doesn't apply really in cases where like real estate or estate planning, when the goods the estate has already been distributed. Other than that, pretty much anytime there's a fraudulent concealing of facts, if you are fraudulently concealing evidence, statute of limitations is told. Number two, if it has been, but that's up to, you have to prove under the circumstances that it has been fraudulently concealed. Number two, if it has been that it was unapparent. It was so unapparent. There's no way you would have known. It will toll the statute of limitations. So I think that giving hard deadlines, if people don't act by a certain deadline, whatever, that is not necessarily true. Also, you have to remember that it's based on what you're suing for, right? So if I'm suing that I was not released my shares today, right? What is today, September 2nd? So my cause of action is still valid today. So I can start over the timeline based on today. It's a continuing claim. It's a continuing act against me. It's a continuing obligation that has failed to be given to me, continuing. They call it a continuing tort. Like if I go to your house and I put sashimi on your lawn and I leave him there and I put him on the other side of your gate and he can't get out. He didn't trespass once. He trespassed every day, right? So it's a continuing trespass. He's continuing to trespass. So let's say it's 100 days later, you can sue that sashimi trespassed on your lawn, from day 1 or from day 100, it can start. It doesn't have to start based on an action of the day 1. You can say, on day 100, sashimi trespassed on my yard. So I think that, Rob, I want to know what you do for a job now that gave you a pension. So statute of limitations are so complex and they're so case specific based on what claim you're actually making. You need to say based on X claim, based on X, based on Z, like you need to know what you're actually suing for. So to give a blanket statute of limitations, I think that's a bit, I think that is a bit like, what do they call it when you put something on a YouTube and like exclamation points just so somebody will click it? Oh, clickbait. It's kind of like clickbait. Like, I think it's uneloquent and it's not fully developed. And I don't think it's fair to put that as something to actually guide people. I think that is, not what an attorney should do. And I feel like, I won't judge anybody else. Everybody has the right to act how they feel and to conduct themselves how they feel and to act within their own professional authority, right? If you're a professional, you have professional authority over your opinions or whatever. But I think that it's just, it does an injustice to do that when it's so much more complicated than that, like I've just explained. Thoughts? Why is Finra using TSP? They are not government. So syntax, Finra is what are they called? They're not semi-governmental authority, but there's a word for it. There's a term. I don't remember what it's called, but it almost means like semi-governmental agency where they get certain benefits of the government, like how they're claiming immunity and claiming that it was based on the regulatory agency bestowed on them from Congress. So they do have certain governmental authority, depending if their actions are in the scope of that agency. So if the government gave them agency to do XYZ, regulate the stock market, impose fines, blah, blah, blah. If they are doing something like imposing a fine, they have governmental agency in that one act. When they're investing for their own money, they are a private company. So when you're going after them and you're saying they're abusing this regulatory agency for the private investment, benefit, that is when you need to prove it. And how do you prove it? Blue sheets. Sorry, I just went on a little bit of a tangent, but that's my answer for you. Thank you for everything you did. Do you have any news about the big law firm in Texas, which were trying to bring you in one time? What are they doing right now? I'm not sure what they're doing now. I have been in communications. The attorney was so nice. I really enjoyed speaking with him. I'm planning to go and see him when I go to Texas. But every time I say I'm going to go to Texas, something happens and I don't go. So unfortunately, that is the story of my life. So, but I would love, love, love to have him review my appellate brief before I submit it once I finish drafting it, which I rarely started. Any thoughts on prime broker Alpine using Finra about Finra's constitutional to enforce pretty much anything? So, I heard about the Alpine case. I didn't hear too much about it. I'm not too versed in it because I didn't have a chance to read it. I was trying to figure out my own case and appeal. But I think that from what I remember, they're suing FINRA on something also about the regulatory authority. And I think it's also going to come out basically the same way, saying that if what they were doing is in the scope of regulation, if what they were doing was in the powers given to them by Congress, then they have immunity because they're not responsible for doing the government's job for them, right? If the government hires a janitor, right, and then the janitor cleans, so they enter, okay, here's a good way to put it. If the government hires a janitor, or anybody hires a janitor or whatever, and then the janitor enters the room to clean it, they have immunity, right? You can't say they trespassed because you gave them the authority to enter to clean. That's why you engaged with them. But now let's say you told them, now let's say they opened the safe, right? And obviously they're not supposed to open the safe. You tell them, clean the rooms, don't clean the safe. And now they open the safe and they say it's to clean. No, they don't have immunity there. The immunity stops at the safe door. The immunity that they're not trespassing by entering the room, you can't sue them for trespass for entering the room. They're cleaning the room. Like, you can't do that. That doesn't extend to the safe, right? The scope of the immunity is for cleaning for the room. Similar with Finra. The scope of the immunity is for the regulation. It doesn't extend to their independent investment. It doesn't extend. Sorry, my cat keeps trying to step on the keyboard. Stop. It doesn't extend to the independent regulation or their independent investments. It doesn't extend, beyond that scope of regulation. What other actions, if any, do you believe the people of MMT can do to increase awareness and move the ball closer to an ultimate resolution? Okay, keep pounding on Congress. And also, we need, kind of easier, you guys are all really smart, honestly, so I feel like you guys can figure out what is the easiest way to explain this case, to boil it down to, number one, catch people's short attention spans. People have a short attention span. Explain it thoroughly enough so people can understand, hey, something's going on here. I was trying to make a short video for Instagram and TikTok to kind of spread the awareness. So I've been trying to do that. But I'm explaining it and I'm going on and 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 on, right? And it's 2 hours later, we're into this video 2 hours later, and he gets it. Finally. And he's like, wow, that's so complicated. You need to find a way to boil this down. And I've been trying and trying and trying. And that's why I explained it to my cousin today. Okay. And it still takes a while. So if you guys can find a way to explain it, use a metaphor, use analogies, use whatever, to boil it down, to catch people's short attention spans, but also to show people this is really wrong. Something's going on here. Here's how it should have been. Here's how it is, without getting people too lost in the weeds. That would be amazing. And then also continue to call Congress. Just call them. I told you, we have the legislative option. We have the judicial option. We need to pursue both. Okay, Fred Jones, private law firm, Arnold and Porter. I hope they paid you well. Thank you so much for joining me today. You have a Roth IRA. Roth IRAs are great, but they're also investments in this, stock market that is oh my God. That is, I wish I could show you guys, but I'm on a computer. He just climbed all the way up to the top of a bookshelf. And now he's going to get stuck. Yeah, you're not going to be able to get down. Logistics and aerospace. Wow, that's pretty cool, actually. So you're literally what do they call it? A rocket scientist? Thank you. Copy and paste. Rosa, what are your thoughts on transferring MMTLP to AST regarding expert's letter concerning the case offer? So a lot of people have told me that here's what I think. I'll explain it to you. I'm not advising you. I'm not telling you to transfer or not to transfer. That's not within my scope. I have on that email that I gave you guys all my email address. It's pretty much only for MMTLP people, so I can, you guys message me on Twitter, but I don't have notifications from Twitter anymore. And then also I'm missing so many messages, so I thought emails are great because I can give a full eloquent response. From the phone, it's harder for me. I'm I'm not a computer person, I'm a paper person, but it's easier for me to type an eloquent response and copy and paste maybe case law or something. But then also I'm not giving legal advice because I would require a consultation for legal advice so I can take full stock of your scenario, understand the nuances, because I told you, it's always different claims, it's always different this, it's always different that. There's so many different things, so many different variances and variables to every piece of advice. So I would never give you guys legal advice, but I will say that I can give you theory. So I cannot advise you about transferring to AST or not, but I will tell you this. It is my opinion that if a judge the only way to trade again is by a judicial order. That is my opinion. It is my opinion that a judicial order is going to, if a judicial order says and agrees with my request, eventual request, right now my request is limited to give me the blue sheets. After the blue sheets reveal the information, my request is going to say trade again, right? Based on XYZ, I'm going to use all the proof I can, blah, 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 blah. Now, let's say that a judge approves the order to trade again. It is going to be because it was in the best interest of the investors. It was the thing they didn't want the most, and it is the most just response. The judge is going to do it in the name of justice, right? A judge doing it in the name of justice is going to say anybody at AST should be given the option, 14 days, blah, 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 to return or notify the broker that they would like to participate in the market sale. If a settlement occurs and not a judicial order, a judge ruling an order saying, in the name of justice, I believe that the most just option is going to be to return trading days, blah, 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 that is going to say, that judge will, if it was based on my case, I would make a motion to say, Your Honor, please allow 14 days for anybody in AST to make the option to also seek their form of justice via the marketplace, right? They want the same thing that we all want. I think a judge would likely say that is the most just thing to do, to give people the option, because they were part of the larger group that all of them got screwed, right? Unless the judge says trace each share back and allow those people, but I find that unlikely. I think that if the judge says allow it to trade and get the number back to zero, he's going to say anybody in AST will hereby has 14 days to, notify and reverse. That is my opinion. If it is a settlement, so this is judicial offer, this is settlement. If it is a settlement, if Finra and the brokers say, okay, well, we need to, break down the numbers, we need to get back to zero, we need to bring it down, we're over leveraged, we need to settle with these people, they are not going to settle on already cleared obligations. Those ones are out of the bucket. They're not even going to consider them, right? In my opinion. In my opinion, they're going to say, here's our outstanding obligation as of today's date. We need to figure out how to solve the problem at hand. We don't need to figure out how to solve the problem from months ago that already started being solved for us. We need to figure out how to solve our over leverage, which as of today's date is X amount of shares. They're not going to say, we need to solve the people at AST. That is if a settlement occurs. If a court order is the method of resolving it, it is my opinion that a judge would say, if it was based on my case, it would be my motion to the judge to allow people at AST to be given a certain number of days to notify their broker that they want to participate in the trade. That is my opinion. So can I tell you to transfer or not? No, I cannot. I don't know your situation. I don't know your scenario. I don't even know your real name. A lot of you guys, I only know your fake names. But I think that that's the way I look at it. And that's the way I, break it down in my head. Oh, I know what you're talking about, Jonna, about Alpine saying that it's unconstitutional because of jurisdiction and that it's beyond jurisdiction. I think that I still have to read into it more because I don't fully remember everything I read. But I was reading it, and then I just remember thinking, this is going to be a good thing to read. And I think I bookmarked it, and then, because you guys shared it, and I bookmarked it in my Twitter, and I never read it after that. Because, I'm sorry, my life is just so chaos. Department of Investor Education specifically kept saying to watch your case and others specifically. Did anyone from the SEC ever contact you about it? Nope. But somebody told me that somebody at the SEC complimented my work, but they did not contact me. Part of what I anticipate that I'd like to do at some point in my life is go to DC and just knock on the door of a Mr. Bird Thistle. Why is my cat trouble? He is so troublemaker. He's so spoiled. He wants to sit in my lap right now, and I was allowing him, but then he just wanted to climb atop a bookshelf. I like the idea of boarding an oversold plane where we now have been sleeping in the airport in the aisle of the plane for 9 months, crying cranky kids. Not just crying cranky kids. The toilet is closed. Yes, pooping in the airport. They're not there. It's like we're like I don't even know. We're all like hostages, really. We're hostages in that airport. How could Finra is not constitutional? Finra can't be sued for monetary damage like the government. Yeah, you can't forward. I agree. Finra is beyond. They have, they're a private entity when it suits them, and they're a public governmental agency when it suits them. I think that it's a little bit ridiculous, but I think they're a governmental agency when they want to, stretch their immunity and use their actions for regulatory agency. But again, it's based on their own regulation and their own regulatory scheme that they are making billions of dollars. I would love to be Finra. Have wield so much power and make money off of it. Wow, that would be great. Do you guys have any other questions? I didn't really prepare for this very well because I didn't have the opportunity. And I also have a client that's been waiting on something from me. So I was going to cancel, but I really felt like this was important. I felt like you guys have supported me and like really have given me so much rejuvenation when I've gotten stressed or tired or like, I have fallen behind sometimes in motivation, and you guys have rejuvenated me so much. And I wanted to try and return the favor and just remind you that we have the legislative option, but it's so difficult to fall on the right ears, and we really need to like keep pounding at it. And then I'm hitting the judicial option with everything I have. So is Richard. So is, Alan. So are so many other people have been taking up, with the courts and paying for those fees, and it's expensive. So, okay. Thank you, Andrew. Go ahead. Hit me. How do you envision the Gensler briefing to Congress playing out? Honestly, I have no idea. I think that it depends on how well Congress is versed on what's going on. If Congress is well versed on what's going on, then I think that the questions are going to be really probative and good. And I think that it really depends. So I think part of what you guys need to do is make sure you're calling, educating, just putting it out there. Because if they're well versed, if they have a good idea of what's going on, they'll be able to ask the right questions, and it'll start to unravel a little bit in their minds. And if it does, that's enough for Congress to say, we're withdrawing your power. We're withdrawing some of your agency. You're going to have daily oversight now. You're going to report to us more regularly. So I think that when you guys just keep hitting Congress, it does so much more. Even if they're not getting back to you, even if they're not really responding the way we want, we need to find a way to give them somebody needs to draft a script or something for like a TikTok, and I will make one, okay? That's like short, gets all the information in, keeps with the people's attention spans, and gets all the good information in to show this is not adding up without like weaving too hard. Because I'm trying to do it, and I'm just like, man, I'm information dumping, and it's just too much. Not very good at writing that. I've been trying, but the more you hit Congress, the more you give them the facts, the more you keep at it. When they are in these positions, like the congressional briefing and stuff that they're going to be doing, and they're going to start probing with good questions, because they're going to have good questions, because they have a solid base of information, because you guys have provided it. So if anything comes of it, it's going to be because you guys kept calling, you guys kept providing information, you guys kept pushing on them. And I think that is really, you guys don't understand the impact that you've already made. Judge Hinkle is, I think that, like I said, some judges really don't want to set precedent because they want to follow precedent that has already been set. And I think that, that is why you take it up the ladder. And here we go. We're all climbing the ladder. You guys are climbing right with me. Can I wear a Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey? No, because my brother called me a mother bucker. So that got me in trouble. I will be wearing Bears jersey all season. Go Bears. Bear down. The Bears. Thank you so much for you guys being here. I really, really have enjoyed, I've moderately enjoyed this because you guys aren't here like talking with me, but I do, I really love being here and being able to just help any way I can. How do we support you? Do you agree the ask of Congress should be one share count? I do, yeah. We should ask for a market to open and close positions only. Yes, I think that is the absolute number one thing people should be pushing for. Because here's the thing. If you push for the extreme, which to them that's so extreme, blah, blah, blah. You push for the extreme, you're going to land a lot closer to it. If you already show, hey, we just want blah, 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 then you're going to land a lot closer to that. You need to hold on to your guns. And market. So while it's not reasonable that we expect the market to open tomorrow for it, consistently pushing and saying this is the fairest way, this is the only way, really does put the idea and allow them to sit with it. And when they sit with the idea and they look at the other options, what are the other options? We want market value. Give us a market. So I think, it is definitely, that's what we should push for. I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to happen because I don't know, right? We're in kind of unprecedented times, but also not just that, we're in a situation where we really just have to push, and we really just have to hold our guns and say, like, listen, it is what it is. You guys have really put us in this bad situation, but now you need to dig us out. And it's not up to us to cater to your obligation. It's up to them to cater to the way that we take it. Do you believe that it's up to them to fulfill their contractual obligations, not up to us to make it easy for them? Sorry, that's what I meant to say, but I just lost my thoughts for a second. Do you believe that an effort to file a complaint with a request for a preliminary injunction, forcing the concerned parties to bring about reconciliation, would be helpful if filed in another district? I don't think so. Personally, for me, I can't. Well, if somebody else was doing it, yeah, but I cannot do it myself because there are like certain. I would have done it in Texas and used the help of that like really awesome attorney, but because he's very well connected and he kind of can also get a feel for some of the different judges and kind of given me that insight on like this judge responds best with this and that, and this would be a great way to communicate it with them, But I cannot, because legally, once I'm already engaged in litigation, it would be considered frivolous litigation, and they can actually penalize me. My skin's so clear. Oh, I have a great dermatologist. He's really good. His name is Dr. Jabbar. I've had him since I lived in Chicago. I go to visit him because he's great. I'm so sorry, but go Bears. Oh, I didn't know your name was Daniel, but actually I did know your name is Daniel. I keep thinking of you in scene. Thank you so much. Actually, me and my friend she's a dentist, and we made those in her house, and we had to use her dental tools to cut them open. But thank you so much. They're so great. I'm not going to Bar Harbor for leaf peeping this fall. I did that last year with my friends, and one of them is pregnant this year, so she cannot go. Me and my other friend are going leaf peeping somewhere else, and I will keep it a surprise for now, unless you guys can guess. But I really have been waiting on this trip for a really long time. I'm so excited about it. Sometimes the extreme is just what was fairest and what was taken away. Any other outcome rewards the bad guys. So I agree. I think that even if it's not low money or it's big money or whatever, I think that is their duty to fulfill their contractual obligation, not ours. So it is their duty it's not our obligation to make it easy for them to fulfill it. Our contract says XYZ. They were interfered with, so the brokers can say it's because of Finra. So we can't sue the brokers directly. I did not directly sue the broker because I know that they're going to say this governmental agency or this pseudo-governmental agency told me I could not fulfill that contractual obligation, and now they're alleviated of it. If the government tells you can't fulfill a contract, you're alleviated of it. Now we would have to sue in a different manner. So that's why we go straight after Finra. We get the information, and then from there we reassess based on the information that we have. But the duty of them to fulfill it, they still have an obligation to make good somehow. And if we tell the judge we want to make good by market and market value for how this creates such a volatile market, it's up to a judge. If the judge is moved by that, then get your banks ready. Has your broker sent you a 1099? So I have Robinhood and I have Fidelity. I had Robinhood from Torch Time, and then Robinhood you could not buy. So I opened a Fidelity account, and I did that so I could buy more shares. So Fidelity did send me a 1099. Robinhood, I don't believe they did. And I will not be paying capital gains tax. I would literally never do that. And not on this. I would literally not do that. And then I haven't filed my tax. I actually filed an extension till October because I don't know, I was like trying to figure out what exactly to do in this situation, partly for this situation because, I invested some of my own income on it and I was hoping to use that as part of like my tax deductions and stuff, but it's just been terrible. Congrats on Connor Bedard. I hope he has many. Yeah, honestly, I hope the Blackhawks used to be so good. I remember when I was like in high school and early undergrad, they were like every other year winning actually against Tampa. And past like 5 years, they've really not been so good. So it was back when we had like Kane and like Shaw. Everybody was like so excited about the Blackhawks, and they just kind of fell off. So I'm excited. This year, the Bears are looking good. The Blackhawks are looking good. I'm excited. The Cubs are okay. If a judicial order is the only way to get our trading days, do we need to file a lawsuit, or can a negotiation happen with all parties? I think that if it could happen by negotiation, or Congress can do it. Congress can do it. A judge can do it. Or they can agree to do it on their own by negotiation. All three of those are possible options. Yes, Congress can make that requirement because Finra is under Congress. The SEC is under Congress. So they can make that requirement for, and they would obviously have to ask Nextbridge, and they would obviously ask MMAT, so metamaterials, to create the corporate action to be posted. But yeah, they can. Sometimes, oh wait, sorry, I got lost. Have you had any contact with attorneys on the other side? I asked because Basile said that he had negotiations with the other side that broke down. I have talked with the other side, but they've just kind of stuck with their guns and said, no, like that's not happening, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, okay. Like he just basically said like, no, we have immunity. You're not entitled to anything. And I said, well, I disagree. And he said, okay, well, I'll see you in court. And that was it. You might be in Bradenton's not far. So we'll have to have coffee. I agree. When make an argument about for argument, doesn't that go back to the first bad act? Shorts not closing on Torch. So can we just address the halt and 2 trading days taken? I'm sorry, I don't really understand that question. Can we just address the halt when you go to the first bad act? So it depends, right? We'd have to see the data. We'd have to see the blue sheets. We'd have to see the actual tracing of what is going on. And I think that it really just depends on what happened. But I think that ultimately it does boil down to, at the time of the halt, they understood. At the time of the halt, we knew what was going on, and they still chose not to regulate. Why? And I think it's based on your claim. Like if you're making a claim for a Sherman Act violation, you can say they knew that they needed to cover shorts. They chose not to. Why? For their own independent financial gain. I think that's how I would flip it. So it's based on your claim to what actions are going to suit what claim. That's why when you're an attorney, you have to think of the entire circumstance, think of all the different claims that are possible, and say what fits what. So what fits what, and what fits what statute of limitations, and what fits what, blah, 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 blah. And you have to like look at it all. That's why I love being a lawyer, is because I love strategy. I love to strategize. I love to learn it all and then find what fits what's the best claim, what has the best defenses too. You have to really think of all those things. If the judge does order to trade again, do you think the structure of that trading will be fair to retail or prevent any? Yeah, I think so. Once you're under judge order, bro, you need to like follow what the judge order is. And that's why you also have to put requests with the judge. Like that would say, I would have specifically request anybody with AST has 14 days to make this option, it's going to open, blah, blah, blah. It's going to follow under these circumstances, I'm running a Twitter space right now and won't shut it down until Elon comes in. Will you come in for a post YouTube party? I cannot, because I have something for my clients. I have been owing this to her, but then with the hurricane and everything, I didn't get it done on time, and she's like really waiting on me. So I'm going to be working. I may come to Tampa for a Bucks game, but it's too hot. Okay, that is not too hot. 66. I cannot wait until Tampa gets cold in December. I cannot wait. What are my thoughts on the Nextbridge communication? I think Nextbridge is honestly just trying to do their part, and I think that they're using what they're doing right now to continue drilling and just be productive on the actual drilling and stuff. So I think that that's really what their prerogative is on that. And I understand that and I respect it. And you have to remember they have to do the duty to their shareholders, and not just the ones that got messed over with the shorting, but the ones that intend to stay with the oil and gas. So it would be bad measure for them to not continue drilling and not continue doing those things that they need to do. So that is, I think, what their main focus is. And they're saying, we're willing to comply with what our shareholders need and just figure out what is going on and see how it all shakes out. So a lot of people are questioning expert hydrocarbons, which they should. You should be skeptical. You should ask a lot of questions. You should ask more questions than you answer. But I think that, in certain circumstances, like with NextBridge, they're so limited in what they can do because they have to follow their mission of being productive on the company, making, financial production. So, okay. Any other questions? What are your thoughts on new code dividend? Do you believe that it is just a tactic to pressure those that are complicit in this mess? I don't know. I think maybe it's a way to push people into, I think maybe it's to demonstrate finality, right? Or maybe it's a way to demonstrate you need to make a move on, you need to stop sitting on it kind of situation. You're either in or out. But it might be a method to tell people we need to continue to move on as a company and you need to be in or out. Mark is asking if it trades, will or can the government put a max price or a cap? No, I don't. I think that would no. I think that the reason if that would happen, I don't think it would trade. So I think that the trading would be because we'd argue that we're entitled to market share, which is based on, what is it? What is the most basic thing of market? It's liquidity. I can't remember what they're saying is. It's demand and what the heck is the word? Supply and demand. Thank you, God. Why was the word supply out of my head so hard? So a big part of the market is based on several variables, right? One of them is supply and demand. One of them is, the current business production. There's so many different things, different markets. Green energy has different than gas. Electric, companies or whatever, all these, there's so many different factors of the market, so many different ways they touch different things, whether a company has a debt, whether they have a deficit, blah, 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 blah. There's so many things that impact a company. There's so many things that impact the market value of a share. There's so many things that cause such volatile market change that telling a judge we need all of these factors present so we can get actual market value means you can't put a cap. When you put a cap, you are preventing us from our actual market value. You are now interfering with our objective, which is allow all the variables to exist, including supply and demand. Thank you, Sticks, for that one, because it was on the tip of my tongue. I'm also back in action supporting our combined efforts of eliminating all electric ovens. Good. Thank you, Joey. Continue to support. Continue to keep pushing the gas objective. I won't shut the space down until Musk comes in, so I will likely be here when you're done with your client, just saying doors open. I'm going to be working on her stuff until late into the night and then going to sleep. What is my opinion on a class action lawsuit? I don't think that we're there yet. I think we will be at discussing a class action lawsuit when we get some finality. There is no finality right now. There's no final share. There's no final anything. So I don't think that, I think that when you have finality, when something finally happens that they say, okay, here's the story of MMTLP, here's how it ended. That's when we can say, okay, well, based on how it ended, we were, disadvantaged, taken advantage of, and then we can go from there and say class action. I just don't think we're there yet. I haven't ruled it out completely. I think it depends on how we get there. If we get there and we're so diluted, NextBridge Hydrocarbons is diluted, then I think that what we can do is I think that if it's so diluted, if we go to sue, here's the problem. If we go to sue in a class action, would we be suing in a class action, or would NextBridge Hydrocarbons be suing in a shareholder action? You have to think about the claims that are available to you. What claim is available to you? You can't sue a governmental agency, right? You can't sue them for money. We can't sue the brokers till we get the green sheets, the blue sheets. God, it's like my brain fizzles out after 5 o'clock. We can't sue in a class action until we have the data, in my opinion. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think that we have finality enough to do that. But then also, I think that if we wanted to sue, would it be a class action or would it be a shareholder action from NextBridge Hydrocarbons? Because the damage would be to NextBridge Hydrocarbons. So people who are pushing you into a class action, because so many people have told me they've felt pushed. I'm not on Twitter. I don't know who's saying what. So you guys are like telling me quotes, and I'm like, who even said that? I don't know. This is not shade at anybody. I didn't even know who said the statute limitations thing until like a couple days ago, because I didn't know. I just saw different tweets about it from different individuals, not from like sources or whatever. I don't know who's asking about the class action. This is not shade. I think that every attorney has their own professional opinion and their own authority to speak on their profession. It's not my business to babysit everybody, but certain attorneys do different things in their way, and it's based on, their methods, and some attorneys are better than others, or some attorneys are, more aggressive than others. Some are more, strategic than others. Some are more, willing to settle. There's styles. Attorneys have styles. So this is not shade, whatever. I don't care to do that. I'm not super involved, so whatever. But if somebody is convincing you into a class action, I think you need to ask them, what is your claim? Because right now, who has been harmed is NextBridge Hydrocarbons, because NextBridge Hydrocarbons has been diluted by shorted shares. And with the dilution, the company and its shareholders can pull a shareholder action, and then the company takes the money, and everybody gets the shares. They don't bring the shares back down to the original number. So it's not a class action that people get money. NextBridge Hydrocarbons gets money, which is great for NextBridge Hydrocarbons. So we all benefit from being able to be recipients of the benefit of that, but it's not direct. So I'd like to know, what is this class action people are talking about? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear their explanation of what their claim is, because I would love to hear it. I think it could be great. It could be a great opportunity for me to hear certain opportunistic elements that may appear in the shareholder community. I think that people need to be wary of why people... I told you guys, a lot of people keep saying that... A lot of people keep saying how we are a meme stock, we are this, we are that, we're gaining so much traction because we're a meme stock, blah, 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 we didn't do our due diligence, we're just disgruntled people, blah, blah, blah. So I think you have to know that with the flip of that comes to, we've been making a lot of noise and people want to ride the wave because it's an opportunity for them to ride the wave. So I think we should be wary of some of the people who come forward, some of the journalists that have come forward and not made stories about us, but have made tweets about, I'm investigating, da 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 da. Like, but where's your final investigation? Why haven't you shared it with the shareholders? Why haven't you made the article? People have said, oh, I'm here to advise, I'm here to give da 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 da. People who want to ride the wave, because part of being a meme stock, the flip coin of that is that you're gaining traction and people see that you're gaining attention. You were on Jon Stewart and you were this and you were that. People see that, and I think that people see that as an opportunity. And I feel like it's disingenuous to the shareholders, and the most valuable commodity in the world is attention. It's attention. Influencers are people who make money, trillions of dollars more than me, because all they get from you is your attention. The most valuable commodity is attention. And it's also the most squandered. How long do people sit on their phones? Read your screen time. How long are you on social media? It is the most valuable commodity in the world, and it is the most wasted. That's why I turn off social media notifications. I put a time screen limit for my phone for social media. I'm not going to just give my attention away to anybody. My attention is valuable. People fight on the internet for your attention. People are fighting for it. And they see that you guys are getting a lot of attention, and good for you because you're working hard for it because you deserve it. And they want to ride your wave. So be careful. Be wary of that. People are trying to steal your attention. I see it. And I'm not going to comment on people's intentions because it's not my business. But, I feel like that is so important to, remember. Class action and certifying a class when individual harms are so variable seems complex. It's not like property tax action where all were overtaxed the same percent. Who is the class? Yeah, I agree. Who is the class? What trades do they begin at and what trades do they end at? Is it the shorts from Torch? Is it the shorts from this? Is it the shorts from that? Where do you start with the class action? Who are the members of the class? What is your claim? If your claim is diluted shares to Nextbridge Hydrocarbons or failure to fulfill your short obligation through MMAT, these are different things, but ultimately the company is then is the person suing. So it's not a class action, it's a shareholder action. I mean, they're just so different. And I think that the different claims are gonna any payouts, anything is gonna go to the company, which is gonna benefit the company, and all of us have an interest in that. So it benefits us, but it's not the direct benefit people think of when they think class action. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for coming. This is my first YouTube on my own. So sad Houston was not here this time, but maybe another time. I love that I can read the chats though. My God, this is so different. Okay, sorry, Andrew, I'm waiting. One more question. Okay. Eyebrows waxed like that. Threaded. So yeah, I mean, I this is my first YouTube. I hope I did a good job. I feel like I just ranted a lot. It's kind of weird, but I hope to do another one. And if you guys have that email, I'll put it I don't know where I'll put it because this is my first time, but I will put it somewhere. And you guys will have the email so you can ask me questions, and then I'll use those when I do the next video. And I'll try not to go off on so many tangents or trying not to rant so much. And yeah, I'll do that. So you guys can email me. You'll have that email. And I hope that I can clarify things. I don't know always what's going on Twitter. Like I said, I don't really stay too deeply on Twitter. But if you guys tell me when there's things going out that you're not understanding, or people are saying things that seems fishy. Somebody did message me about the statute of limitations thing, saying, hey, this doesn't really make sense to me. There's got to be something for people who are, being prevented from information or being prevented from knowing about a claim. And I said, absolutely, yeah, fraudulent concealing of facts or fraudulently concealing evidence, it prevents people from knowing, so it tolls the statute of limitations. And they said, yeah, I wish somebody would explain that. Can you explain it better? And I tried, but when things like that are happening on Twitter, I am not aware. And if you guys have those questions, you can email them to me, and I will try to put something out to give you guys, eloquent, more filling responses rather than just, one short retweetable whatever, something that actually gives you some meat on it. Thank you guys so much. Great info. Thank you guys. Oh yeah, go Bears. I'm so excited for this season. Justin Fields is going to be amazing, honestly. I already know he's going to be amazing this year, and you know why? Because he is going to just kill it. Justin Fields already broke his own MVP record. So he broke the record twice, and this year he's just going to kill it. I mean, the whole team is just going to come together so beautifully. I watched them in the preseason. I just loved it. I'm so excited. And I think that next year is going to be even better. We're just it's on the up and up. A bag full of leaves to change color. Actually, I am going on a fall trip. I try to go on a fall trip and a winter trip because I do miss the cold a little bit. And I'm so excited for my fall destination this year. I'm going in October. If you guys can guess it, I'll tell you. But probably won't be able to guess it. I've been waiting to go for a long time. It's not in the country. Maybe that will help. Okay, well, I think I'm going to sign off now. And thank you guys so much for coming. I really enjoyed it. I think if you send snow to Florida, it'll melt before it gets here. Okay, I will try to do, nope, not Maine. Okay, I will try to do more videos. Send me emails of questions, and I will try to answer them. I'm not going to Canada, no. But, no, not Vermont. I went to Vermont last year. It was awesome. It's outside of the country, so I'm traveling to another continent. There's another tip. It's a fall destination. Am I giving too much away? Maybe not. I think that's not enough. But for relatives, for people in the community. Andrew, you don't got to tell me twice. Please do not overburden yourself. No, honestly, I feel like, I feel honored to take on this responsibility. Not Switzerland, but close. Starts with the same letter. I feel honored that you guys have put so much trust in me and given me so much support and really been there for me. I do. And that's why I feel like I have this, not an obligation, but I feel like there is a part of me that knows that if you guys have questions or if you feel like the information you're getting is not filling, it's not substantive, I would love, to be the person that's able to give it back. Not Spain and not Sudrito. Is Sudrito by Estonia? I'm not going there. I love Hawaii. I went to the Big Island too. I went to the volcano there. It was cool. I'll tell you, it's not Spain. It's close to Spain, moderately. Starts with an S. Well, thank you. Not South Triol either. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it. You guys are getting close, but no, it's somewhere. It starts with an S, but it also starts with a U if you want to look at it. Because it's not Sweden, no. It's a country, but it's also like considered a province in a country. Not Sudan, nope. It's in Europe. It's close to Spain. It's 100K retainer discount sale. I have never charged a $100,000 retainer, so that would surely not be a discount to me. Who would visit Sudan? I don't know, Sudani people. I am going to Scotland. I'm so excited. My mom's from Ireland, so I went there a couple years ago, and I really, really wanted to go to Scotland. I didn't have the opportunity, so I am renting a van and hiking through the Highlands in Scotland. So I'm so excited. And I'll send you guys pictures, I guess. Okay, that was my answer. Okay, I gotta go. All right, thank you guys so much. Thanks for your support. Email me questions anytime, and I will try to make these videos and get back to them. Have a great night, guys.